Hi, folks. It's Abu and Obssa back again with another bonus episode of Science Fiction Book Club.
That's right.
We are here once again to talk about Murderbot, as we have been doing for the past few weeks, and as we will continue to do for the rest of Season 1. Today's episode is Episode 5. It just dropped today.
Yep.
We have both watched it. We have both taken notes on it. Let's talk about it. Let me give everyone a brief refresher of what happened in this episode. So in episode 5, Murderbot is taken to the repair cubicle after the shooting incident last week. A new character is introduced, one that's not in the book,
That's
actually.
right. Labibi.
Hello. We'll talk about her in a second. Labibi joins the crew as a survivor from the attack. The governor module secret is out.
Yeah.
While the crew was repairing Murderbot, Garathan discovered the truth. This is a rogue sec unit, and it's been rogue this entire time.
That's right.
Uh-oh.
Well before the command unit.
Well before. Now, the crew interrogates Murderbot to really gauge the danger here.
Right.
If you've been rogue this whole time, you could have killed us at any time, but
Right.
you didn't.
Garathan's still suspicious, however.
Very suspicious.
Still
Garathan, very suspicious. The rest are much more open. Rati, in fact, seeming to
Vibe with Murderbot?
really vibing with Murderbot.
Yeah.
Really connecting.
Totally.
Perhaps obsessively so.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they decide Murderbot might be dangerous, but it's not the most dangerous thing happening right now.
Right.
Deltfall just got eradicated, and the company's not trying to kill us, which means someone else is trying to kill us.
Right.
We need to light the beacon and get off this planet.
Right.
And that's what they go to do. As Murderbot and Mensa's hopper approaches the beacon, an explosion goes off, destroys the beacon, and engulfs their ship.
Yeah.
And that's where we wrap up episode 5.
Another cliffhanger here.
Another cliffhanger.
Yeah.
What did you think of this one?
Yeah, this one was pretty interesting. I mean, I think we've had criticism along these lines in the past. Not a ton happening.
Right.
But it's a little bit more of an exploration of the crew, the characters, how they're feeling about Murderbot.
Yes.
And for that reason, I'm totally okay with the pacing in this episode. It doesn't feel like a regression per se. I know what I've signed up for now, and I'm getting that.
Right,
and
halfway through the season now.
Halfway through the season, I'm at this point, I'm liking it. I'm so happy they've introduced a new character in Labibi.
Yeah,
who is a little silly, but is an interesting twist. And also represents kind of a different background story than the rest of them. It comes from the Corporation Rim and doesn't totally relate to some of the ways that the rest of Prezox kind of behaves.
Yeah.
Which was interesting to have, again, a little bit more contrast.
Yes, I agree. I was very glad to see Labibi introduced in this episode. Last week, in fact, one of my criticisms was, I wish this show would start to push the bounds of the original text, introduce some of its own ideas. And here we are.
Yes.
Labibi has arrived.
Yes.
A fun twist.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes. I mean, I've watched enough television to have a feeling I know where this goes, but I won't say anything. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked Labibi's introduction here. I found much of this episode quite funny.
Yes.
Actually.
Yeah.
One of the things that actually made me burst out laughing was when Garathan reveals that Murderbot has just been watching TV this whole time. That's what Murderbot does in its free time.
Right.
And they're like, there's no way.
Yeah.
It's watching this much Sanctuary Moon.
Right.
And Rati asks Murderbot a very deep cut question from season 19 of the show, and Murderbot answers correctly.
Right.
And I don't know, something about Rati and Pinley's delivery there of oh no, Sec Unit's correct. That's such a deep cut. And someone in the background goes, oh my God, such a deep cut, bro. I don't know. That got me. That was a really, really funny interaction moment between them.
Yeah.
And the crew continues to grow on me.
Yeah.
I'm still, I still don't think it's a home run adaptation of the crew.
Sure.
And I'm definitely coming in with a book bias there.
Right.
They're just so different from the book.
Yeah.
And so goofy that sometimes it's hard to take them seriously.
Right.
But again, halfway through the season, we know what we signed up for at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm here for the ride and kind of enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. I do find Murderbot continues to nail it for me. I mean, Alexander Skarsgård as Murderbot, I think he's doing a masterful job. And Murderbot's kind of sardonic take on everything and just the continued background narration, I think is fantastic, honestly. Continues to be the strongest of the characters for me. And also, its interactions with Labibi also kind of just like hitting the right note for me. Labibi at some point kisses Murderbot. It's clearly extremely uncomfortable. You see its combat efficiency dropping several points kind of on the screen.
Yeah.
And then there's kind of an interesting moment where I still don't quite understand what's happening with Dr. Mensa and Grothin. I'll be honest. It's like,
I do not understand the relationship there. It
seems like they must have known each other for, ages.
Are they exes?
Are they exes?
Is Grothin trying to get back with Dr. Mensa?
That's an odd combo, I will say. But in any case, there's a moment where Dr. Mensa says to Grothin in a little bit of an awkward kind of exchange that if she doesn't make it back, that Pinley is first among equals,
Okay.
And he clearly, makes him pout a little bit. He's like annoyed, and it makes me wonder if there's like something, are we going to see Grothin come back and kind of, backstab a little bit? Is there going to be an interesting twist? I don't know. I honestly just don't know what to make of that entire relationship.
I have no idea. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I will say, here's my note on that, actually.
Yeah.
I wrote specifically in my notebook, are we really leaving Pinley in charge? No disrespect, but like Pinley seems to be the youngest of the crew.
Does seem to be the youngest.
And the least experienced.
Perhaps.
Who I want in charge?
Yeah.
Bharadwaj.
Yeah,
right? Obviously. Like Bharadwaj seems to be the other grown-up.
Yes.
Everyone else is just like young and immature.
Right.
Like Rati, Arata, Pinley.
Right.
Those three seem to be like the goofball youngsters.
Yeah.
And it's really like Mensa, Bharadwaj, and Grothin are the three grown-ups in the room.
You've got the thruple and the three grown-ups. So couldn't be a bigger dividing line here.
Yeah. So I truly was like, Mensa, what?
Yeah.
Pinley is your second in command?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, what a choice.
That's my one note for Mensa. Choose better second in command.
Well, yeah. I will say there does seem to be, and to be honest, not that invested in it, but there does seem to be a little discord amongst the thruple. It looks like maybe Pinley and Arata are
distancing
pulling away from Rati. Hard to say.
Right.
And I don't know if you caught this, but there was a moment when Rati and Bharadwaj held hands for a moment.
Wait, I didn't catch this.
So Murderbot, when it kind of went after Grothin, they were shocked for a moment, and just in the background, if you looked closely, you could see that Bharadwaj and Rati were kind of holding hands and like seeking, comfort, if nothing else, or just security in one another.
Fear. Right.
But it makes me wonder, the storms are brewing. Lots of relationships. All of them are kind of little curious here. Anyways.
Yeah. And that leads me to like the one small note I have. 5 episodes in.
Yeah.
I don't think 5 episodes in, I should be so confused about the interpersonal relationships of this crew.
Sure. Yeah.
I shouldn't be wondering, are Grothin and Mensa exes?
Right.
I don't need you to tell me everything about these people all at once in the first 2-3 episodes.
Right.
But I should have a sense of the interpersonal and emotional stakes within the group dynamic.
Totally.
And right now, all it is really thruple ?
Yeah.
And that I think it is a weakness that other sitcoms are able to do quite well. And in fact, like other sitcoms almost run entirely on the interpersonal dynamics of the main crew. Like Friends is like 99% that.
Yeah.
Community, when I've mentioned this before, but Community, within the first couple episodes, you immediately understand Jeff's motivation, who likes who, what Britta's there to do, what's going on with Abed.
Right.
And like, again, not everything. You spend the rest of the show exploring these people more.
Yeah.
But you do establish some initial motivations, complications, and stakes within the group dynamics. And the show and this crew quite hasn't done that. And I wish it did. I wish I knew why Grothin was annoyed that Pinley is in charge and why he's not second in command, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's my one note. But again, I am continuing to warm up on this show. Is it a great show? Is this like Andor, Last of Us level? Like, no, those shows live in a different stratosphere from this show. But this is not a bad show.
Yeah.
And it's certainly a good time. And it's like so bingeable, like at this point, if you haven't checked out the show or something, and you're listening to this,
take a Saturday.
take a Saturday and just binge the whole thing.
Totally.
This is a very bingeable show.
20-minute episodes.
20-minute
like
episodes.
You're not going to lose anything, you know.
Yeah. And so I think because it's so bite-sized, it's not a huge commitment. And so it doesn't need to be this like huge, massive, in-depth thing.
Yeah.
It can just be kind of like a silly show that you have fun with on a bored Saturday night.
Yeah. I will say, I think that maybe is one of the things they're experimenting with here. Obviously, the source material here is quite limited. It's quite slim.
Yeah.
And these are 20-minute episodes. You know, this isn't the hour-long episodes you get for, I think that's how long the Foundation episodes are on Apple TV Plus, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. Like, this kind of works. I mean, it's obviously not a huge investment. I have to wonder what kind of numbers we're seeing for this show now.
Yes,
you know,
I agree.
This is definitely, this feels like something that they're experimenting with. And if we get more adaptations like this, I don't hate it. You know,
I don't hate it
if it works. You know, like let's see more of this.
And look, I don't obviously know what the production looks like for this show and what the costs might be, but I will say, just as a viewer, it's really like 3 sets.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And some great costuming and some lovely sets, but this doesn't feel like an expensive show.
Not necessarily.
You know?
Yeah.
There aren't like huge set pieces that would require like 3 days of production and filming.
Right.
There aren't like huge name brand actors outside of Alexander Skarsgård. So you're not sinking giant paychecks into big name actors.
Right.
A lot of the conflicts happen like in the hub, in the main room that we've seen over and over again. So they're reusing a lot of sets. All of that to say, like, I'm not trying to say the show looks cheap. I'm actually trying to say the show looks budget friendly.
Yeah. It's effective.
That means like easier to renew, maybe?
Which would be great.
At
this point, I am rooting for a season 2, I will say.
I would love it.
I would love to see what their take on book 2 here.
Yeah. Right. We're not talking like prestige TV budget here.
No.
And if that helps it get renewed, because it's just kind of like a line item for Apple, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, give it another
Give one
million.
for the fans.
Do one for the fans. Give it another $1 million or whatever to make another season.
Right.
Great. You know, that's I don't know if that's cheap actually for TV. That's a
know.
hypothetical.
For a whole season, it seems.
For a whole season of TV, I don't know. Yeah.
Hard to say.
But you know, we're talking Apple budgets, and this show looks quite budget friendly and reuses a lot of sets and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that works in its favor. The numbers don't have to be huge for the ROI from a business perspective to pay off.
Right. I will say, I do like the sets. I do like the kind
lovely.
of costume
They've
design here. Like, I think it's actually quite excellent. Like, it's I feel kind of immersed in a slightly different world, and it feels cohesive. Like, totally.
Oh, totally.
You know, effectively done.
Yeah, I agree. The set that, again, I'm not trying to say it looks cheap or anything. It actually looks excellent.
Agreed.
They're just being very efficient with like reusing sets and reusing what they have to work with, which makes it a very, you know, this is what made Steven Spielberg's career.
Right.
Is like he could just make every movie under budget.
Right.
And that will make you very friendly to studio execs.
I hope this is a very profitable show.
All right, let's end on this question.
Let's hear it.
Would you name your child Sec Unit?
Sec Unit.
Middle name? Last name.
That's right. Good hard-hitting journalism here. We'll leave you with that question to ponder, listeners.
Yeah. Think on it. Get back to us. Let us know.
That's right.
Hop in the Discord.
Yeah. Hop in the hopper.
Hop in the hopper. And let us know. All those links are in the show notes below, by the way. You can join our Discord and join these lovely conversations that we have. Okay, that's episode 5 of Murderbot and our brief thoughts on it. Thank you for joining us this week, folks. We will be back next week to talk about episode 6, and all the remaining weeks left in this show. We'll be back every Friday to talk about Murderbot. We'll see you then.